Hello everyone, it's Jay and Maury Pyatt from thecouplecure.com, and we're finding a quicker way to answer questions because they've been piling up, the requests to answer questions.
Yeah.
So
Today's question is from
SB,
who asked, does addiction come on suddenly?
Or is it kind of more subtle? Like, is there this invisible line that gets crossed?
Right. Is it like boiling a frog in a pot of water, that it just slowly becomes an addiction, or is it something that happens almost right away?
Mm-hmm. And Jay and I have two different takes on this, so I'll let...
Well, why don't you go first, and I'll see if we do have two different takes or not.
Well, my take is, I've heard, we've been involved in 12-step groups for a while. I was involved in 12-step groups a long, long time ago, and anyway, what I remember people saying from those groups, the sober, the people who were sober from chemical dependency, most of them said, I was hooked at the very first use, yeah. And I've even heard people say, I've always been chasing that initial high. Like, it's never been quite that good, ever. Right. Which I think leads to other people, or leads to those people going for different drugs. Maybe this is going to give a different high. I even remember one guy saying, the first time I drank, it felt normal. That's the first time I felt normal. So from my standpoint, certain people's wiring, their brain wiring, their chemistry, their body chemistry, I think it does happen almost instantaneously. But Jay had a different answer.
Well, I feel like so my first exposure to pornography, which was my drug of choice, happened when I was 5 years old. And I think that created or at least it opened a door for me that made it easier and easier and easier to go through that door. And not many 5-year-olds have access to alcohol or drugs or whatever. And so I had that access many, many years before my first drink, before my first drug. And I felt like maybe marijuana was something I would get addicted to. I was drinking alcohol before I left for school some days, but that was more because it was so much sugar and not really the alcohol part. So I was probably addicted to sugar too. So here's the open closet into Jay's skeletons. Anyway, I think the marijuana, because of the hurdle of cost and finding someone who could sell it and finding a regular way to get to it, after that was cut off, it was difficult to stay into, but because pornography was so easy for me to get to, and it was something that I had really allowed in early on. Maybe you are right. I think it was that early pathway to feeling better in a bad moment that created more of a lifelong attraction to something that I don't know, if I had found it through food or some other method, maybe I wouldn't have landed in porn.
Right. Okay.
So it's a really good question. I think it's a tough one to answer, and it's kind of, and yet I think Lori is pretty close, that it's almost from the word go, it solved a problem. And so solving that problem for someone who doesn't want to look at the underlying problem, wow, this thing solved it the first time out, I'm going to keep going back to that until it doesn't work anymore.
Right. And I've also heard that it can vary depending on the personality. You've heard of addictive personalities. I would assume they probably have more of an instantaneous, non-subtle attachment to whatever their stimulant is, whatever their arousal is getting kicked up with.
Right.
Otherwise, I think, there are some people that could drink till the cows come home and never become an alcoholic. So
right.
I'm assuming it has to do with everybody as individuals instead of a blanket statement.
True. Well,
All right.
thanks for the question, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Thanks. Bye.